Welcome, everybody. This is Debbie Mabry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You're here for Turn Your Blog into a Revenue Generator with Shannon Winning, who is a co-owner of Marketing Arrival. And I just wanted to let you know that we are recording today's session. So Shannon, if you're here, we can get started at any time. Thank you.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you very clearly.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to talk about blogging today. Blogging is something that I am excited about, passionate about. I love helping brands and designers reach their audience by sharing their stories and the projects that they work on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to do a poll just to see where you are, to see if you are currently a blogger, what industry you're in, and if you use influencers in your marketing. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because I'd like to know where you are at in the process of blogging. Maybe you have no blog, you've never thought about doing it, or maybe if you're on this webinar, you probably do think about doing it. Or if you're already a sophisticated blogger for your interior design or remodeling company or for your brand. And that way I can just tailor my presentation to where you're at. So go ahead and answer those poll questions as you see them. I'm going to go ahead and, I guess I should answer these too, huh? Let's do this so that you can see. Okay. Okay, so there we go, everybody. This is me, Shannon Winning, and you'll see up here Ultraviolet and Marketing Rival. You're catching us right in the middle of a rebrand. And the reason I wanted to show you both companies is because I think it's illustrative of what we believe about marketing, and that's it should be always evolving and reflective of your passions. We chose Ultraviolet because we didn't feel that Marketing Rival really represented who we were in the design community. And it also is a little adversarial to people. We meant that we would help you rival your competition, but instead we looked like we were, putting up our dukes. So that's not what we were going for. So we love ultraviolet because not only is it a color, but it's a form of light. And we love the metaphor that your brand and the work that we do with custom content and social media just helps light emanate from your brand and attract people to you. So my company specializes in building profitable social media relationships through communities. And when I say communities, I mean digital communities in social media, also via email and with blogging, where you develop a community feel with your readership. So we represent brands and also properties, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. And our main philosophy is that beautiful products sell better when the right people know about them. This is an example of where we work. And the reason I wanted to show you this is a community that we market. This is Bellworks. Bellworks is an Aero-Saarinen design building that used to be Bell Labs in New Jersey. If anyone is on the East Coast, you may already know about this building. It's 2 million square feet of gorgeous mid-century design that was left vacant when the place closed down in the 90s, I think, and it sat vacant for years. It had squirrels and trees growing in it. And when developer Ralph Zucker of Somerset Development took it over, he envisioned it as a new community where people could work and play and eat and shop and gather together. And so he actually is fulfilling the vision of Aero-Saarinen to pull down the walls in the building and let the light flow in through glass everywhere. And it's completely inspiring and aspirational to be there. And I share it with you today in case you live on the East Coast and you'd like to come for a visit or you ever want to have an event there. It's just a great place. And we've been there since 2015. And because of that, we also do their marketing now. And so this is our office right here. That's the cleanest it has ever looked and will ever look. But that's it. All right, so let's dive into blogging today. I'm going to just go over now what we're going to cover. So this webinar is ideal for you if you're a designer and you're already blogging, or even if you're a remodeler and you're already blogging, and also brands who want to generate sales with their blog. So maybe you've been publishing stories about your product in place, but it's not really generating any leads for you or any sales. This presentation will help you do that. Let me see if I can get some of this out of the way so you can see better. There we go. Okay, so today we're going to cover, first of all, why blogs work, how they attract traffic and authority and credibility to your site, We're going to cover how brands specifically use them to showcase their product, to nurture market interest, to generate those customer leads, and how they can help attract potential brand partners. And I have a good focus on that today, so we'll talk more about that later. And then for design bloggers, whether you're just beginning or you're already excelling at it, we're going to show you how you can use this to attract new clients and brands through showcasing what you're already doing, how you can create an audience, and how you can attract brand partners. And now, Debbie, could I turn it back over to you? Do we have the results of our poll? Debbie, are you there? Okay, there we go.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I think there was a delay on my end. So here is the results of our polls.
Did you? Oh, sure. So let me just see here. So let me just pull this open. And it looks like there's about 16% of the people that are on today's session are in the home building remodeling area. Excuse me, 38% are in interior design, and about 3% are in the manufacturing area. That's poll 1.
Okay.
For poll 2, I believe the question was, let me just do your blog, and 15% said yes, and 28% said no. For poll 3, I think the question was, do you work with influencers? Mm-hmm. And 7% said yes, 33% said no. And then finally on poll 4, the question was, what is your greatest, and I believe it was the limitations for why you do or do not blog. And 19% said there's not enough time. 14% said I'm not a writer. And I think about 6% said lack of content.
Okay,
so
great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for going over that. That's actually very helpful. So glad to know the ratio of the industries. That's going to help me. So I'm going to X that out and we're going to get started. Okay. Okay, so first of all, why blogs work? And I can see that because not a ton of you are bloggers, this could be important for you to know. Blogs are the primary way that that the internet, that searchers get to know you. And in this, I'm going to use an example of one of our clients, Polycore. They're a natural stone quarrier. On the bottom left, you can see one of their quarries in France. They have them in the United States and in Canada also. They quarry marble, granite, soapstone, and limestone. And we feature all of their projects and residential installations on our blog, and we use this to create a community on there where people are engaged with the brand, always looking to see what it's doing next. The audience is primarily professionals, but there are some homeowners, and so you could do this formula basically for any of your audience. Okay, so let me just show you for a second the basics of why a blog is important. Your site generates authority every time you publish something of high quality content. That means great images, informative writing. Whenever you publish that on your site, you're telling Google that you are an authority in that subject. So if you regularly publish original stories and images on your blog, which is your website, you're showing Google that you're an authority either in interior design or remodeling or in your brand space. The second reason you want to be blogging consistently is that it drives traffic to your site from searchers. So I use the example here of if you're into French country kitchens, you do a lot of design on that. If you are publishing blogs that showcase that with images, gorgeous images that have alt text in them to say to Google, this image is about French country, and you're talking about it in your stories, when people are searching in your area, they're going to land on you naturally and organically. And that gives you a greater chance of showing up in people's search even when you're not doing advertising. Advertising would boost that, but this is the basic starter way to do it. And lastly, it shows credibility for you. Let's see if I can get this guy out of here. There we go. I know who's speaking. Your blog is your primary way that your audience can identify whether or not you're legit. They want to know about your taste. They want to know about the level of the projects you work on. And they want to see that you are fresh and modern. Even if you're doing traditional design, they want to see images that look recent. They don't want to see something archaic. And so your blog is a great way where you can consistently update your site without doing any coding to your site, without rebranding in any way. You're just adding fresh stories all the time. And you know that that's the first place you're going to go when you're searching a professional is you're going to Google them and see what they look like online. And if their site is really bad or has no recent stories, you're going to bounce. Just like if you walked into a hair salon and you saw the person who was going to cut your hair and they just had a really funky mullet, you'd probably walk the other way. So this is a great example of that. So now we're going to focus a little bit on lead gen for brands. If I could get my slide to advance. Come on. Oh, it's not going. Okay, there we go. So we're going to focus on lead gen for brand because inside every one of the blogs that Ultraviolet produces is an opportunity for the brand to nurture interest in designers and architects, and in some of our brands, homeowners. So we include in each one of these free downloads for lookbooks, product spec sheets, case studies, anything that'll help the designer learn more about how they can use the products on their next project and how our clients can get valuable lead generation information about the prospective buyer. So that could be their email address, the product they're interested in, the region they're interested in. Often we'll ask a question, are you sourcing for an upcoming project? That helps our sales team know if this is a lead that's really ready. This is an example of a recent blog we did. On the left-hand side, you'll see From the Waterfall Island to the Scullery. This is a designer in North Carolina. Her company is called the English Room, and she spec'd polycore stone for her gorgeous waterfall island there. You can see the marble. Really a stunning installation. She had great taste and just so colorful and fun to write about. And in this blog, we included her mood board to show you the sources so we could help designers become inspired to find new sources for their next project. And at the end of the blog, because we talked about a variety of different stones, she used 3 different stones in her home. It was a kitchen, the scullery, which is the butler's pantry, of course, and then the laundry room. And so we included in this the call to action to get a new sample set of colors. So the call to action is key. Every one of the blogs that we produce for one of our clients is actionable, meaning we're giving the reader, the user, something to do next to deepen their relationship. It might be to revisit a page on the website to learn more about a particular product, but most of the time for us, it's a download. And that's because we want to give someone something that's of value to them that they can refer to over time and that they feel is worthy enough to exchange their email address for. That allows us to do tracking of their behavior on the site, what they're interested in. We can see the pages that they've gone to, emails that they've opened, blogs that they've read. And this is powerful for us, especially when we're dealing with large-scale projects with architects, because a lot of money is going into those projects. And we want to see how that person came to us in the beginning so we know what they're interested in so we can write about that for next time. So how would this work for you if you're a designer or a remodeler? It would be as simple as going back to the projects you've already done that you're really proud of and taking professional photos of them and then featuring them on your site. And then as you get good at that, that's when you go next to lead generation. We'll talk more about that.
Shannon, excuse me, I have a question here for
please.
you. Jim would like to know, he says the blog that you're showing has 2 columns. He says, does clicking on the headline lead to more copy in the blog?
Yes. So actually what I'm showing you here is I'm glad you asked this question because I'm showing you like little bits that I've put together just for the screen. So on the left-hand side, that's what you would see when you came to the blog was the headline, and then there'd be a little more read button at the bottom where a user could go in and read the rest. What you're seeing on the right-hand side is some of the content we included in the blog. So I think this piece had 5 or 6 pictures of her kitchen and the adjacent rooms. It also included the mood board. And then at the very end of the blog, that's where you get the sample set of new colors. So a person would click on that. Does that answer the question?
He said, yes, thank you.
All right. Thanks very much for asking. And if anybody else has a question, please jump in. This is another example of lead generation. This one is geared more to architects because this is a large scale project dealing with, I think, 60 tons of stone. It was a big one. So we presented this because we really wanted to show to architects that this particular material was great for large scale projects. And in order to get the most value, like the most mileage really out of this particular project that we featured, we created a case study for it. And all the case study is the project summary of something you've already done. So all of your sources, measurements, floor plans, any kind of drawings that would be interesting to, in your case, probably a homeowner. So it could be before and after shots. It could be features on the people who worked on the project, different professionals you included. So when we put this case study together, not only is it selling the product and showcasing it in a gorgeous way, it's valuable to the reader because if they're interested in using this product going forward, they're going to want to know how it works in space. And this is going to help them do that. And I've showcased here different bits again, just like the last blog. So on here on the left, this is what the blog would look like when a visitor came. Here on the top, this is what the visitor would see at the bottom of their blog. It's the call to action button, we call it. So they click on this and it leads them to this landing page. And this landing page contains a little brief overview of exactly what the person will get when they fill out this form on the right. And the form is pretty limited in the amount of information we ask for on something like this because this is a very general piece. It could be of interest to many people. We want as many people to see it as possible, so we don't ask a lot of questions on the form. Deb, I didn't see that last question come in. Did you?
Yes, I did see it, so I'll read it to you. So from Jim, how do you promote the blogs? There's a couple questions in here. Do you do email blasts, PR, all of the above, or do you let Google indexing find it and then use it to help your clients achieve better SEO?
Oh my gosh, all those. Yes, all of those. So our primary way of delivering our blogs is via email. We have a great database that we've built of readers. So we deliver them by RSS, which is an automatic feed that people can sign up for. So these people who are receiving it have opted in, basically. So they know they're going to receive it. They're interested in it. They're not going to mark it as spam. So that gets delivered to their inbox immediately every time we publish a blog. We also showcase every blog we do on social media. So if it's on Instagram, it's in our stories. We do a detailed breakdown of what you could expect in the stories just to get people engaged, and then the links in the bio. And then we advertise our blogs. I will say that this particular client does not do a ton of advertising. They just really believe in the value of organic. And I got to say, it's worked for them. I mean, last year they closed on a sale of about $1 million in stone that came from one blog we did that just was reached organically by an architect. So it works. If you put ad money behind it, it works even better. So we are optimizing all of our blogs for SEO, meaning we're taking into account the words the searchers are looking for, the keywords, those long tail key phrases. And we're also optimizing because we are publishing regularly about content that is relevant to our audience. We're using very high quality images and our writing is great. And we're linking back to our other blogs. So every time you come to one of the Polycore blogs, you're getting an opportunity to learn more about other projects. And we're also driving traffic to those older blogs we've done and also back to the site, which helps increase search authority. Okay, I think I answered that question. Any others?
There is another one. Do you have a blog page on your website?
We do. If you looked at my website right now, though, because it's under construction, you wouldn't see one. But yes. But Shoemaker's Children, I'm going to be honest, I do the least amount of blogging for myself that I do for clients. That's just how it goes. Okay. All right, so first is it okay if we transition to product placement? Does anyone have any more questions about that kind of blogging? We will get back to how you can do it better for yourself, but if not, I'll move on.
There is another question here from Rochelle. She's asking, what does it cost to have a company such as yourself manage a blog for a small design firm?
That is a great question, Rochelle. It depends on the frequency of the blogging. Okay, and I'm not trying to be dodgy here with the numbers. It depends on what you're looking to do and how big your firm is. So we don't usually work with small designers because what we do is so big, it's kind of expensive. So the retainers start around $4,000 or $5,000, and some of them go up to $10,000, so $10,000 a month. Obviously, you're not going to pay that. We do have a modified program for designers and home builders. That is a subscription program where you can sign up for one blog a month and accompanying social media messages and graphics that you can use on your social media. And I think that's running now about $1,500 a month. And so you're only getting one post. It's very valuable for someone who is a remodeler because they can deliver content that's custom written for them and that is very focused on trends and their general evergreen pieces. And when I say evergreen, I mean they can stay up on your site for a year and they're not going to feel old because they're relevant to everyone, designing a kitchen to age into, or let's say, how to create a fireplace that's going to, warm your hearth and your home. Things like that.
Thank you. A couple more questions. So someone's asking, do you have a separate blog page? And then the other question is, do we necessarily need to hire an agency?
Great questions. You do not necessarily need to hire an agency. However, as an example, that I am in the business and I have difficulty blogging for my business because clients get in the way, I can tell you that you will have much more success if you hire someone. Now, if you are a one-person show, you're not going to be able to afford an entire agency. I would suggest you partner with a freelance writer, that you give them a list of projects you've already done. You give them high quality imagery and say, could you please write about these? Or if you have an assistant or someone who works with you, set up a process for them where every time a new project comes in, they have it professionally photographed. They have all the specs from the job, all the sources, even some before and afters, and you give them a formula. I'll address this later, to produce blogs that just cover what you've done before. We will get a little more into this, so I'm going to be brief on that question and tell you more later. Oh, what was the other one? Oh, is a blog hosted on your site? Is that what the question was?
I think they were asking if you have a separate blog page.
Okay, so no. We host our blogs. They're connected to our site. Now, if you have a WordPress site, you can have a WordPress blog. We use a software called HubSpot, which is a really great marketing software. Not all of our clients use it, many do. And what's great about this is it's a integrative platform that includes everything you would need: your email, your social media, your blog hosting, and even building those landing pages, which I showed you earlier when we had that St. Clair case study, that landing page where I could gather information from someone, like keep my offer behind that landing page. They can't get to it unless they fill that out. That's hosted on there as well.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I think that answered this question, but Lisa was asking, can you use any blogging platform you want, such as Squarespace?
And I would suggest if you are a small firm or a one-person firm, you just use whatever is easiest for you and just write consistently. Weekly is the best. You can't do weekly, do monthly. If you're really good at it, write twice a week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So should I move on to product placement?
I think we're ready. Thank you.
Okay, great. One of the reasons I brought up product placement today is because we market for brands who sell through distributors, it's often a challenge for us to find the imagery, the examples of the projects that were installed by a designer or architect in someone's home or business, just because the sale process is so long, we're separated from it. So one of the reasons we use product placement is so we can give product to a designer or an architect. And I will answer that question later, Diane. Give them, and we are assured that they're going to produce high quality content for us, and then we'll get to use it on our site. So this is, even if we can't find any projects to write about that month, we know we have this to count on. These are some of our product placement partners. They're designers and architects all over the country. I'm currently working with two of them right now on a project, and we're going to talk about that in this presentation: Joanna Holly and Sarah Gibson. Joanna Holly is known as JoJo-tastic, and Sarah Gibson's business is Room for Tuesday. We'll cover them later. Now, these are their audience numbers, although these are, I see now that these are pretty out of date because Sarah's is much, much higher now. I have to update that one. We're going to cover the length of blogs later. What else did I want to tell you? Okay. So another reason that we use product placement partners is we have found that when you give product to a designer or an architect, and that is the currency that you're exchanging for. So I'm giving up a countertop slab to Holly Hollingsworth of the English Room. what I know is that she's going to produce images for me, and she's likely going to install that product in her own home. And one of the reasons we love to do that rather than just paying someone to install it in their client's home or in their client's business is that we find that we get much more engagement from the audience when a product is installed in a designer's home because their audience is just more passionate about it. I mean, think about the famous people you know, people you admire, you want to see what they're doing in their own home or with their own family, how they spend their money, how they decorate their homes. So that's why we choose to use product placement partners there. Some product placement partners are paid also for their work, but that's not the case with these guys here. Did you have a question, Deb?
I do. There's a couple things coming in. So someone is asking, where do you get your images? And I don't know if you plan to, address that later. And then I've got another question here from Christy. How much interior designers should share their ideas and blogs? I find often clients just get the free ideas and buy from their own sources. Do you have suggestions on this? This may be the reason I don't blog that often. Thank you.
That's a good one. The first question was what again?
About the images.
About the images. We have our projects where our products are featured professionally photographed. That is the best way to get images. The other source of images is these product placement partners who will, like Room for Tuesday, Sarah Gibson, she's a great photographer. All the images that she takes on her blogs are high resolution. She also gives us the rights to use them on our marketing. And the other one is through social media. So a lot of times we'll find someone who's tagged our product or the brand or the type of stone. Like we just had one this morning, a woman tagged her fireplace Alberine soapstone. That's one of Polycore's brands. And it's a fantastic, gorgeous fireplace. I cannot wait to feature it on the site this year. And so we're going to contact her for her professional imagery and then feature her on her site. And it's a benefit to her because we'll be linking back to her as a designer or a blogger. So people get to see her work there. As far as stealing the ideas, this is a good one. People are going to steal your ideas. They definitely are. So maybe you're not going to give away everything, and maybe some of what you give away is behind that landing page with a form. So someone at least is giving you some information about themselves. Can people get around forms by giving you fake information? Sure can, but that doesn't happen that often. What we find is if you are consistently writing for an audience that is interested in what you're doing, you generate a following. Those audience members are interested, they're engaged, they're respectful, and what you end up with is a dialogue. For instance, when we send out our blogs via RSS for Polycore, they are from the client. His name is Steve. The email is from him. He gets a ton of replies to those blogs like, hey, Steve, that's great. I love that product. Or love that project. And then they ask a question, or they say, hey, can I get some samples? Or, hey, I'd like to place an order. What you find is you now have a private offline conversation with people who are interested in what you're doing. And they have to be honest with who they are. It's obvious who they are. So they're not stealing there. In my own business for marketing, we give away a lot of information like I'm doing today, because you know what? A lot of it's freely available. You could learn how to do marketing yourself and do it. So I'm giving away what is not a super secret, just what works for me. And I find that if someone is really interested and not just kicking tires, they're going to come back to me. Now, if they can't afford my services and they just take some of my ideas, like, okay, great, I've just poured back into the marketplace. I've helped someone do their marketing better. That's fine. It's no skin off my teeth. But that's a balance you're going to have to face as a business owner.
Shannon, excuse me, one more question. Thank you for the answers on those. So Diane's asking, if you don't have time to hire a photographer, and I'm assuming some people may not have the dollars to do it, do you know of photo editing apps that would make a photo look more professional?
Photo editing apps, yes. I know that some of the designers even featured here use Lightbox and Visco. That's not my area of the business, so I would actually refer you to my business partner who speaks about that, and she could give you more tips on that. But yes, there are photo apps. Honestly, just Google it. Spend a little time figuring out what designers are using to make their photos look better. And if you think you can't afford a professional photographer, consider taking on an intern or a student who does it and giving them an opportunity to get some online credit, to get some some eyeballs on their name, and maybe they will, give you a deal or even do some free work. Okay, so I'm gonna move on now just so we don't run out of time. This is Sarah Gibson from Room for Tuesday. What I want you to know about her is when we found Sarah, she was an up-and-coming designer. She wasn't doing a ton of product placement work. She wasn't getting a lot of sponsorships from brands. She was just doing her thing. Sarah was living in the Midwest at the time. She had done a renovation on her home, and she was working full-time for a company in kind of an uninspiring job. And to keep herself going, she started a blog and started doing little side gigs for people designing their homes. And she would write about them on her blog, and they got some traffic. But what really started to get traffic for her was when she wrote about her own home renovation. People were very engaged to find out what she was doing there. So when we were looking for a designer to partner with who really loved natural materials and was interested in incorporating them into her home. And we really liked Sarah's work. She was kind of small in her social following then, but we saw that she was selling her home and moving out to Salt Lake City. So we knew we were going to have an opportunity that she was going to completely gut and redo her home, that she might need some material. So we partnered with her. And the first step we took was inviting her to Polycore's Georgia Marble Quarry. We often give tours there. And while she was there, she fell in love with this particular marble that she could use with her fireplace surround. And also, bonus, she found soapstone, which she really liked. It was a new material to her. And because of that time, that one weekend that we spent together, we began this 3-year-long, actually even more now, relationship that spurred multiple opportunities, both for Polycore and for Sarah Gibson. And what we found is both brands have grown organically together. And you'll see that more as we go here. When Sarah first started with us, her following was about 30,000, and now she's over 723,000 followers, and that's across all social media channels. The reason was primarily we chose Sarah, and this is important for you as a designer to know. You want to keep the integrity of your brand and what you love and products that you feel really good about. And as a brand, we want to do the same thing. We want to make sure that you're really interested in the brand enough that you'd want to put it in your home, and you're not just doing it for the transaction. So Sarah really loved natural stone and natural materials, and she wanted to incorporate that into her house. And we were focused on natural stone having a beauty that manufacturing can't duplicate. Now, I'm not dogging manufactured products like quartz, and we probably even have some quartz brands on today. I saw Cambria on the list. They have a unique aesthetic as well, but for this product, it's a natural material, so that's what we focus on. So Sarah's blog showcased these 5 qualities, and this, if you are starting out on your blog, is something you want to emulate. High quality images. She had an engaged following, meaning people were commenting, asking questions, and Sarah's always getting back to them, having conversations with them, developing a rapport. She had a sophisticated aesthetic. We knew that if we put our product in her home, the rest of the home was going to look really good, and that would reflect well on the product. And she had a genuine voice. You feel like you know Sarah when you read her stories. She's just got a kindness in her heart, and it really comes across. And again, she had that affinity for natural materials. Another way that Sarah helps foster the partner relationship is something that you should take note of if you're a designer who's blogging and you're thinking about working for a brand. Sarah didn't go out and recruit us. We found her. And what she's told us is that brands continually come to her now as her following has grown and they've seen her work. And so she's not going out and seeking those relationships. They're coming back to her. But it's now on her, once that relationship does come to her, that she does her part of the bargain to keep it a good one. Sarah's great back-end communications. She's super professional. She responds almost immediately. Great attention to detail. She maintains deadlines with no problem. And she opens up new opportunities for collaboration, like you'll see here with this new partner collab we have with Joanna Holly of JoJo-tastic. Any questions before I get on to what we're doing together?
There is one. From Carrie, I'm currently blogging 2 times a month and releasing these blogs through social media and in a monthly newsletter to my own existing database. How can I expand my audience? You mentioned advertising your blog earlier.
Awesome. Carrie, congrats. That's amazing. So I'm glad you're doing it. To expand your audience, I would invest in some social media advertising. So if you're putting your blog out on Facebook, you want to put some money behind that because otherwise no one is going to see it organically on Facebook. And Facebook will then deliver some of that to Instagram, so you can be advertising there. I wouldn't necessarily advertise on Google if you're a small business, and I don't know that the click-through metric is going to be worth your money at that stage. I would wait till you're a little bit further along. The other thing you can do is work with any new media that's willing to feature your blog on their site, but that would be a subject we'd have to get into another time. Okay. All right, so I'm going to skip ahead to this project that we're doing with Joanna and Sarah. So this year we're collaborating with Sarah, who's, like I said, an interior designer, working with Joanna in her home. Joanna has a small home out in Seattle, and she's got great taste, which we're lucky for. And they decided to work together just because they were getting to know one another online, and they thought this is a great excuse to hang out and do great design. So in doing that, they chose some of their favorite brands, including Fireclay Tile, Polycore Marble. I don't remember. I think it's KitchenAid that they use. It's very tiny there. Yeah, a KitchenAid. And some local cabinet shops. And combining their brand power, their following together, they have an audience of 5 million. And that's exponentially expanding, which is fantastic for Polycore, because Polycore, though it is an excess of $200 million company, they don't spend a lot of money in advertising. So their social following is still rather small, though it's very engaged and very productive for us. This is a way for them to touch many more people all over the country. And we're going right now from Salt Lake City to Seattle. A question. I missed that one. Can you tell me what that was, Deb?
What do you or how do you tag your blog to be seen by a wider audience?
Okay. That's sort of a detailed question. I'm going to tell you very briefly. All of our images are tagged with the appropriate keywords to reflect what is in that image. And that helps Google and Pinterest find where we are. We, like I mentioned in the beginning, we optimize all our blogs for search, meaning they're all containing the keywords that people are searching for. So if we're writing about waterfall islands, we're going to be talking extensively about that in that blog. That naturally will help come up in search. Oops, sorry. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead and we can come back to that question a little bit. Okay. So how to leverage your design blog. Some of this we covered, so I may go over quickly, but what I wanted you to know about Sarah is she has made the most strides in her business by using her own home. She is now on her second home in Salt Lake City, so this will be house number 3 for her. And she's got kind of a flip going. And what she'll do is design her homes just like you would imagine a flip house would do, except great finishes. And she's documenting everything along the way. And her audience is loving it. And that's when she started to see that happen. That's when she shifted her business to focus on her own home and her passion projects. Her husband does all the work. That's her little doggy you can see there. And we were fortunate enough to work with Sarah when she was up and coming, like I said, and that gave us an opportunity to partner with someone who was doing great work at a small scale and could grow together. So here's Sarah's tips for blogging. You'll have access to this recording through NKBA later, so you'll get to keep these. But what you want to imagine when you're writing for your blog is not the revenue that you think you might get through sales or the revenue you might get from a brand partner. Do what you love and showcase it. If you like to design, if you like to build and remodel homes, showcase that on your blog and in your social media, and naturally you will build an audience. Learn what resonates with your audience. Sarah found that it was her home, so that's what she focused on, helped people feel connected. Avoid losing your voice. Some brands, not mine, can be overly critical of the partners they work with. They'll want them to change the content of what they're writing, reshoot images in a way that is not a natural feel. And this can make sometimes the partner feel like they're losing their voice, that this is no longer reflective of the work they do. If you start to feel that happening, Sarah would say push back on that. She says, keep your brand in mind, not your paycheck, because the money will come and go. You may get a great opportunity within a brand that wants to use you as an influencer, and they'll be gone again. So if that brand is like, an alcohol, tobacco, firearms type brand, and that doesn't go with what you believe in, don't take it. I'm sure we have a lot of ATF needs in interior design, but I picked the most extreme example I could think. And lastly, adapt to your audience. Once Sarah saw that her audience was moving more towards her home and renovation, she started excluding the food and fashion story she was doing because it just wasn't where her audience was. Now, the new collaboration with Joanna Holly, JoJo-tastic. I'm going to bring her up just briefly because it doesn't sound like our audience is really there. She is definitely a power blogger. She's working with a lot of brands, and the volume of the requests she gets was so overwhelming that she got a management company to vet all of her potential partners. We're going to leave that for people who really are doing that much blogging. If you're not there, I'm just going to skip past this. Okay, tips from Joanna. If you are starting to work with a brand and the communication breaks down early, watch out. If that brand is not keeping up their end of the bargain, you don't want to be left hanging where you promised your readers and it fell through. And again, she, just like Joanna, says, if somebody's overly critical and they're asking you to do something right, just say no. I love her quote, "You hired me because I've built this following of people who trust me. Readers can smell bullshit from a mile away." That's absolutely the truth. Okay, designers, here's how you can grow your blog today, and give me any questions you have. Write about the work you're already doing. You're doing projects consistently. Don't let them go to waste. Like I said, catalog all that information you have. Take great pictures, and I can't emphasize this enough. Please invest in high quality imagery, whether you use a student or you pay for it, or the homeowner is willing to do it themselves. Do it. Don't make it an iPhone picture. Develop a formula for photographing and describing every project. This is a super simple formula. You go to the job site, you took a before picture, you take after pictures, you match them up together. That is the number one thing people love. I'm sure it's the thing you love, to see that before and after. I mean, HGTV is built on before and afters. You've built a mood board, either digitally or just right there on your desk. Either one, capture that for the blog. Take a photo, like a flat lay, from high above of your mood board, or if you did it on a computer, pull out the image. Capture your favorite design moment of every project and explain to your audience why this is important to you, why you love it. And then lastly, mention your favorite brands, because if you're mentioning your favorite brands, you're tagging them on social media, you're linking to them in your blogs, you may get noticed. They may come back to you and say, "We love your work. We love how you talk about our brand. Do you want to work together?" If you are doing any project in your home, I would suggest you chronicle it, because like I said, for Sarah, that has been tremendously powerful for her. And you want to test the engagement of your audience. Do they really like hearing about stuff that's happening in your home or your client projects? Find out where they are. And invest time daily on social media. Choose your channel here. If you are feeling overwhelmed for time, don't do Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Houzz. It's just too many. You're not going to be able to manage it. Maybe you can post to all of them. You could use a tool like Buffer, which I would recommend, or Hootsuite. You could use a tool like HubSpot if you've got some more money to spend. Wherever you are, you could post on all of those places. But where you're going to invest your time, like your cocktail party time, where you're having conversations with people, that should just be your favorite channel if you're short on time and money. And when you get onto that favorite channel, this is where it's best to go with your instinct as a human being. How you would interact with someone at a party is you would ask them how they are. You would talk to them about their work. You'd share a little bit about yourself. You make a comment on something they've done. You introduce them to a friend. Those are all the things you want to do on social media that will naturally build a following for you. And if you are blogging, put some money behind those posts. Don't go into Facebook and just hit boost. Create an ad dashboard. There's plenty of articles out there to show you how to do that. Just Google it. Create that Facebook dashboard and start creating ads for Facebook and Instagram through there. Before I move on, does anyone have questions there? I'm going to go quickly through the brand part since that's not of interest to everybody.
I think there was one question here from Kathy. She wanted to know, is it a good idea to show before and after photos in your blog?
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I do it on social too. But here's my tip for social media before and afters. Don't show the before in the Instagram slide because everyone's going to go right past that hideous kitchen. Show the after first, and then they can slide over to the before. Any other questions there?
That's it.
Okay, great. I'll move on. Okay, so if you're one of the 3% of brands online here today, this is how you can turn your audience of bloggers into buyers. At Polycore, as the example, we repackage all of our blog content, not all of our, a lot of our blog content into custom content downloads, case studies, lookbooks, galleries of images, because why should that content that's really great only go out one time in a blog? If we've written projects across the course of a year that feature really great islands, well, I can take one of those pictures from every single one of those blogs and I can make a lookbook of great islands. And that's going to attract attention from people. It's going to deliver value to them. What was that last one? Blogging just for leads or expert advice? Is that what that said?
It says, is blogging just for getting leads, or can we write to just become an expert, which would lead to speaking engagements?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Write for whatever you want. If you're just trying to get more people to see your design work, because this is a living portfolio for you, write about it for that. If you want to showcase that you know more about lighting than anybody else or aging in place than anybody else, write about those things. And then take those pieces that you've written and tag the conferences that you want to go to. If you want to go to TICE or KBIS or a local NKBA event, share those on your social media and tag those organizations. Learn who the leaders are in those organizations and some of the local people connected to them, and showcase them on your social media. Find out what their conference is and promote it on your social so you can kind of create a relationship there. Okay, back to brands. We gate all the high value content we have on Polycore, and that means that we give the user a landing page, a form to fill out every time they want to download something. You don't have to do that, but that's the way you grab someone's email address. If you're a brand, you should be retargeting all those leads with follow-up offers and drip email campaigns. So if we've created an image gallery for Soapstone and someone downloads that, I can send them a series of 5 or 6 emails that's going to nurture them further down the line. It's going to give them, here's the care guide to Soapstone. Here's how do you get a sample of Soapstone. Here's a testimonial from an architect or a designer who's used it, or a homeowner. And lastly, the final email would be, get a quote for an upcoming project. Dedicate some budget to product placement and invest in an influencer. If you're not already doing it, take a chance on it. I know it will work for you. Invest in targeted regional social ads for your blog posts. Okay, so this is important if you are a brand that has distributors and you have an area that's lagging behind in distribution. You want to generate some targeted ads in that area. You want to write content that's specific to that area. We did that in Florida for another company called Vitrazo. They make recycled glass surfaces. It was very successful in Florida because you're writing just for that audience, how people are designing in Florida, the kind of coastal inspiration they're looking for, and it really resonated there. And for small marketing teams, if you're our brand, I suggest you outsource your writing, outsource your social media, and your partner relations. You may be able to do all those things if you're a marketer and you're in-house, but you're probably not going to be able to do them all well and still take on all the KPIs that your company has given you to be able to be the face of your brand in PR, or just to be even to communicate internally with your team. That may take so much time that your blogging and your social media are going to suffer. Let the experts do it and you be the liaison to them, and then you look like a rock star. You will be a rock star. Does it work? This is the proof. We blogged about Soapstone and we worked with brand partners just a few years ago. It made Polycore's #2 seller list. Soapstone used to be a material that no one spec'd. It was in chem labs and old country homes, and without any advertising, just with our organic content, their sales rose by 40%. It was a huge win for us, and it was great for the company to see, like, wow, this stuff really works. So I encourage you to do that. Oh, so what is your greatest challenge with blogging? Oh, awesome, Anne-Marie. Sweet. Well, you can always send me a photo too, and if it turns out to be polycore soapstone and it's a really nice project, we could feature it on the blog. That would be super great. So for the greatest challenges, we covered having a lack of time, not being a writer, lack of content. I'm super glad to see that only 6% of you said it's a lack of content, because you should all have bucket loads of content, because you work in an industry that's so visually driven. You have plenty to talk about and to show. But time being the number one. If you're on your own, make it something that's on your calendar. The name of Sarah Gibson's business is Room for Tuesday, because she had a permanent window on her calendar on Tuesdays to work on her business. And I think that even stretched back to when she was in school doing design projects. So because she marked out that time, she built a business on that. And you can do that too. Make it non-negotiable. If you have an assistant or a friend who can hold you accountable, do it. What if your brand is looking for, could you read that one again for me, Deb? It went away so fast.
Sure. It says, what if you're looking for clients and not a brand to partner with?
Okay, same goes. You still just want to talk about the projects you're doing that you love. If you want more clients to hire you for bathroom jobs, then showcase your bathroom jobs. If it's kitchens or you're emerging landscape architect, whatever you want people to hire you for, that's what you should be blogging about. And even if you don't have a project, you should still be blogging about it. Like if you're just coming up with your own ideas and trend analysis and you're placing that on your blog, that's going to show you as an authority and someone who knows what they're doing. Deb, you said, how long should a blog be? This is a great question. Believe it or not, the longer the blog, the better. So blogs that are 2,000 words, which is so long, get way more Google juice, as we can say, more SEO results than short blogs. But that's counterintuitive to the way people read lately, because we just don't read very far. We tend to skim or just do a quick hit. So the long blog is good for two things. One, it's good for the person who really wants to dig into a subject, and it's good for Google because Google is crawling it. And the short blog is good just to get someone's attention initially. Does that answer the how long question? Oh, I didn't say the word count. Typically, we blog for our clients anywhere between 600 and 1,000 words. That's a pretty big span. But I would say for you as a designer, if you do 600 words, you're going to be able to tell the story of your project, include a lot of images, and it'll be okay. In this case, what you should focus on most is adequately telling the story. Do we have any more questions here?
There is one here.
Oh, I feel you, Anne-Marie. It's so hard to keep it under 1,000 words. Okay, but listen, this is the heartbreaking thing. When you write 1,000 words, people are not reading 1,000 words, and that kills me as a writer. It really does. So if you write less, they're going to read more. Keep it to the highlights, and then if you've written it, give it a little time, come back in an hour or a day. And that old saying, murder your darlings, when it comes to your own writing, just do it. Just cross things off that maybe are not necessary if you're trying to keep it short. If you just like to write long form and you've got a lot of expert advice to share, just go ahead and do it.
Okay, do we have any other questions out there?
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining me today. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I love talking about blogging, obviously. If you, wake up in the middle of the night with these burning blog questions, you can always shoot me an email at shannon@ultravioletagency.com. If you go to ultravioletagency.com right now, you're not going to see too much, just a splash page. That last question said, do you contact brands personally? Thanks, Jim. Can you clarify that question? And also I've included here the URL for Bellworks, the place that we work, the beautiful Arrow Saarinen building. And I included the whole address there with the HTTPS just so you can see, because it's such a unique address, bell.works, there's no .com there.
To clarify on that question, Nancy's asking, do we contact or do they look for us regarding the brands.
Okay, great. So that's where they're going to be contacting you, but you can get attention by mentioning them in your social media. I mean, without stalking them. You got to be real about it. If they think you're a weirdo because you're tagging them in every image you're putting up, they're probably not going to contact you. But if you're writing about their subject matter, if you're featuring their product in your designs, and your social media following is growing, they may contact you.
Okay, we have a couple more minutes here. Does anyone have any other questions? If you're typing your question in, please make sure that you send it to all participants so everyone can see. And we'll wait just another minute here in case there are other questions. And in the meantime, Shannon, I want to thank you for sharing everything. You've been so great. There's been so much wonderful information about blogging here. And that's
Thank
what
you.
your people are saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Anne Marie. Thanks, Jennifer.
Oh, here's one. Could you please expand on what you offer to small startups?
Sure. Thank you, Danielle. So small startups, the subscription program I mentioned is a subscription for 12 months where you get one blog a month, the custom content. So basically we give you a editorial calendar, a list of all the different topics that we're writing about that month. And then we deliver a professionally written blog with high resolution images that are free, rights free, meaning like you don't have to pay anyone, with links to brands and designers that are attractive to your audience. And in that, you get one, two, three, I think it's 3 social media posts with graphics. So it would be an image with all the tags that you would need, the hashtags, the caption, and then you could share those on your social media as you want. And because you've bought into that kind of program, you're keeping those blogs on your site. They're your unique content. No one else will have it. And it will continue to deliver for you years later. There are blogs we've written for Polycore in 2015 that still deliver traffic for them. In fact, they're the highest performers they have. Because what you're doing is you're creating an asset that only grows the longer it lives on the web. Okay, you still don't understand where to publish a blog. So if you have a WordPress site or a Squarespace site or a Wix site, on that site will be a place that is just another page for a blog, and it'll give you a blog function. So contact whatever platform you're using, or just Google it. How do I start a blog on Squarespace, on Wix, on WordPress, and it'll give you the directions to do that. So it's just a page on your existing site. If you have a custom coded site, you're going to need to get in contact with the developer and have them create it. They'll create a little tab that says blog, and they'll create the actual place where you write the words.
Okay, do we have any more questions? We have another minute. Oh, here's another one. Is it better to update old blog posts with new info or just create a new blog post?
That is a great question. We have found that you get a lot of traction from updating old content. The old content has greater authority because it's been around longer. But I would still create a new blog post. I would do both. What we do is if we've changed the positioning of a product, or we've had a great new project that we want to feature in an old blog, I'll go in and I'll add the image, maybe add a new paragraph, update it in some way, republish it so I can send it back out to all my audience. But I will probably also create a new blog if it warrants it, if there's enough subject matter.
Great. Well, I want to thank you so much, Shannon, for sharing all this great information. Would love to come down to Bellwork someday. So if any of you are out there in New Jersey area or Pennsylvania, check it out. And again, thank you all for being here. And thank you again for Shannon for your time and expertise. This has been really interesting. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.